My name is Emily. I am 22 years old. I grew up in a middle-class family, and let me tell you, it's a unique mix of challenges and comforts, struggles and joys, worries and warmth. Sometimes it feels like we stood right in the middle of two worlds, not poor enough to lack the basics, but not rich enough to take luxuries for granted. When I think about my childhood, the very first thing that comes to mind is our home. It wasn't big or fancy, but it was filled with love, laughter, and the smell of my mom's cooking. Our small two-bedroom house stood proudly in a narrow lane, its faded paint and squeaky gate holding countless memories. I remember standing in front of it as a kid, looking at the cracks on the wall, the uneven tiles on the floor, and still thinking to myself, this is where we belong. This is home. My dad worked as a mechanic. His hands were always rough, covered in grease and scratches, but to me, they were the hands of a superhero. I'd watch him come home after a long day at the garage, wiping the sweat off his forehead, his shirt stained with oil. Yet, when he smiled at me and asked, "How was school today, champ?" I forgot how tired he must have been. My mom was a school teacher, patient and gentle, but also incredibly strict when it came to discipline. She believed that education was the foundation of a better life, and she wasn't shy about reminding me of it. Books will take you where money can't, she often said, adjusting her glasses as she graded notebooks late into the night. They both worked incredibly hard to make ends meet. And even though we didn't always have the latest gadgets, expensive clothes, or a big car, we had something far more valuable: stability, love, and the belief that tomorrow could be better. Growing up middle class meant our needs were always met. We had food on the table, clothes to wear, and a roof over our heads. But it also meant that our wants often stayed out of reach. I remember visiting a friend's house once and seeing his brand new video game console. His room was full of posters, toys, and colorful gadgets. I stood there awkwardly, hands in my pockets, a little twist in my stomach. On the way back home, I muttered, "Why can't we have those things too?" My mom must have noticed the look on my face because she gently placed her hand on my shoulder and said, "Happiness isn't in what you don't have. It's in what you do." I didn't fully understand her words back then, but as I grew up, they became clearer. Our family had its own traditions that made up for the lack of luxuries. Every Friday was pizza night. It wasn't the fancy restaurant kind, but homemade, dough that Mom rolled out herself, sauce she made from scratch, and toppings chosen carefully to fit the budget. Dad would sometimes try to flip the dough in the air, failing spectacularly and making us all laugh. After dinner, we'd gather in the living room, the old ceiling fan humming above us, and watch silly family movies. I'd laugh so hard that tears rolled down my cheeks, while my mom shook her head, pretending to be serious. Those moments filled with laughter and togetherness were worth more than any expensive gadget. One of the biggest lessons my parents taught me was about money. They believed that even a small income could be stretched with discipline, and they wanted me to understand the value of every rupee. I still remember the day my dad handed me my first allowance. "Here," he said, placing a few coins and a note into my palm. "This is yours. Spend it wisely, or better yet, save it." At first, the temptation was too strong. I wanted candy, toys, and colorful pens I saw at school. But Mom encouraged me to set a goal. If you really want something, save for it. The joy of buying something with your own effort is different. I took her advice to heart. For months, I resisted the urge to spend, carefully tucking away each coin into an old tin box I kept under my bed. My dream was to buy a skateboard I had seen at the market. Finally, after weeks of patience and self-control, the day came. With trembling hands, I opened the box and counted the money. It was enough. When I bought that skateboard, it wasn't just about owning a toy. It was about realizing that hard work and patience could turn dreams into reality. I remember riding it in the narrow lanes near our home, shouting to myself, I did it. I earned it. That feeling of pride and accomplishment is something I carry with me even today. In our household, education wasn't just important, it was sacred. Both my parents drilled it into my head that it was the only way to secure a better life. My mom often said, books don't betray. Knowledge never goes to waste. My dad, though less vocal, showed his belief through action. He would sit with me, his tired eyes scanning my textbooks, even though his schooling hadn't gone beyond 10th grade. But with high expectations came high pressure. I remember the nights before exams, staring at my notes until the words blurred together. My heart would pound with anxiety. What if I fail? What if I don't make it to college? What if I let them down? Sometimes I'd break down, burying my face in my pillow. On those nights, my parents became my strength. My mom would quietly enter my room, place a glass of warm milk on my desk, and say, "Dear best." That's all that matters. Dad would ruffle my hair and joke, "You're already smarter than me. Don't stress so much." Their support felt like a warm hug, wrapping around me, easing my fears. Of course, life wasn't always smooth. Being middle class meant walking a tightrope between comfort and crisis. Unexpected expenses had the power to shake our little world. I still remember one evening when the car broke down. Dad sat silently at the dinner table, pushing food around his plate. "What happened?" I asked. "The repair cost is high," he muttered. "We'll have to cut down this month." The tension in the air was heavy. I could see the worry in my mom's eyes as she calculated numbers in her head. I went to bed that night thinking, how will we get through this? But somehow we always did. Sometimes it meant delaying the purchase of new clothes or skipping small luxuries. Other times it meant long discussions about priorities. But we never let money destroy our bond. Instead, we leaned on each other. We learned to talk openly about struggles, to share the burden, and to find joy in things that cost nothing, like long evening walks, board games, or simply telling stories on the terrace under the stars. As I grew older, I began to see things more clearly. I realized that being middle class wasn't about what we lacked, it was about what we had. It taught me resilience, patience, and gratitude. It showed me that happiness could be built with simple things, a shared meal, a kind word, a family tradition. I also realized the silent sacrifices my parents made. My dad wore the same pair of shoes for years so I could have new ones for school. My mom skipped buying herself a sari she loved because my tuition fee was due. They never complained, but I noticed. And each sacrifice planted a seed in me, a seed of determination to make their efforts worthwhile. Now, as I stand on the edge of adulthood, I feel hopeful. I know life won't always be easy, but the foundation my parents gave me is strong. Their lessons about money, love, perseverance, and gratitude are my guiding lights. I want to create a brighter path for myself, not just for me, but for them. I want to lift them up, to give back for every sleepless night, every sacrifice, every ounce of love they poured into me. I dream of a day when I can say, You don't have to worry anymore. I've got you now. Being middle class has shaped me in ways I wouldn't trade for anything. It has taught me to appreciate the little things, to find strength in struggle, and to cherish the bonds that hold us together. No matter what our financial situation is, it's possible to build a life filled with happiness, love, and hope. Because at the end of the day, money may come and go, but the values, lessons, and love I received as a middle-class kid will stay with me forever.